Welcome back to Lunch Break. I'm Simon Constable. Next spring, some college seniors will take a test, much like the one they had to take 4 years earlier to get into school. But the stakes will be much higher. They'll be looking for a job. Joining me now, the Wall Street Journal's Doug Belkin and Michael Poliakoff of the American Council of Trustees and Alumni. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Doug, let me start with you. Tell us about this test that next spring college seniors will be taking.
The idea is to assess graduates' critical thinking abilities. And the idea, the issue behind it is that grade inflation has become so pervasive on college campuses that employers are having a hard time believing that a student's transcript means anything anymore. So this is an additional data point for employers to use that will help them figure out how smart, how innovative potentially an employer could be.
Okay, now let me go back to Professor Poliakoff. Professor, you say for a long time colleges are like, hey, they say to students and parents, look, give us your money, trust us, we'll turn your kids into critically thinking, amazingly insightful individuals and graduate them. Just trust us. But you say that's not true. Why do you say that?
I'm sorry to say the evidence is overwhelming that we've had way too much failure on that score. We've had 2 iterations of the National Assessment of Adult Literacy that shows that many college graduates, indeed the majority, do not reach basic proficiency levels in verbal and quantitative reasoning.
Doug, back to you. We've got a full screen with this question, and this is the question. Dr. Greer, who's the part you play, claims that reducing cell phone usage while driving motorized vehicles would lower the city's vehicle-related accident rate. What are the strengths or limitations of the position on that, based on the evidence you see? The idea here, Doug, is to assess critical thinking, right?
Right. So this test doesn't try to assess how much you know within a certain subject or the facts you've absorbed. The idea is that in an age of Google and search engines, when facts are at everybody's fingertips, it's what you could do with them, how you can integrate them and synthesize them into hypothesis and use them is what matters.
Okay, and in this case, the data that you're presented with, from what I looked at, really doesn't support that argument, although we don't know if that data is in fact real, but it's certainly that's what it is in the question. Professor, let me come back to you. How different is this from final exams? I mean, why don't the universities just say, hey, we're upping our game with new questions for our final exams for our students that will do this? Why do we need this as well?
First of all, this will be nationally normed. It will give individuals and colleges a chance to see how they measure up in these core skills against institutions or individuals around the nation. And secondly, this is a test of the things that every college graduate ought to be able to do, and something that employers will be very interested in, since it replicates the kinds of challenges that one encounters every day in a professional situation.
Mr. Poliakoff, for very quickly, forever we've been hearing that graduates, high school graduates, college graduates don't have the skills they need, and I've heard that from when I was a kid, and I think people were saying that when my dad was coming out of school too. Isn't this just something that companies complain about, but they don't want to put any money forward themselves? We've got about 20 seconds.
Well, we have very clear evidence about the grade inflation. It was harder when we were in school to get those good grades. And we do have the evidence from these national tests that show that basic skill levels among graduates have been dropping. It really is a crisis. And in President Obama's plan, this is going to be a crucial benchmark to make sure that degrees are quality degrees.
Quality degrees is what we need. Thank you very much, Michael Poliakoff and Doug Belkin. We appreciate both of your time.